tell your story. Very nice. Calling all around the world. Stir that vocal gumbo now. Stir it up, stir it up. Get it.
Yes. Every time I hear the pots and pans hit the floor, I'm looking around thinking,
I break into laughter. And I'm also quite aware that Terry Lynn Carrington is listening to my cajon track.
I know. Yeah. And she was listening to me whisking my mixing bowl. So again, very, very stressful for those of us that have no idea except to just be resourceful.
Well, you know, in the very beginning, all we had was our pots and pans.
And that's all we still have because we're all still home. So welcome everybody to Vocal Gumbo Happy Hour. We are, and yeah, look what Janice has.
This set of glasses came today from Barcelona, and it's based on the stained glass pattern at Gaudi's Cathedral.
Wow.
And I have it filled with Tomcat, which way do I turn
There it is.
Gin, which is a style of gin that is aged like a scotch or a whiskey.
Lovely.
And I think that it is apropos that I drink this tonight in advance of the debate that we are going to watch after this.
Yes, we're drinking heavily. Look at you. And I just have Hendrix, but I have a little tonic here. So I figured since we were both doing the gin and tonic thing, how much tonic are you putting in? I'm not putting in
a lot of tonic because I have to talk. I'm putting in a lot of tonic.
Well, cheers to everybody. Welcome to Vocal Gumbo. And it's been a while since we've seen you. It feels like we do these shows and then we disappear and we go into production again. And then here we are. We're back just when you thought you could forget us.
Please don't forget us.
Please don't forget us.
Yeah, we have an amazing musical show for you, October 30th and 31st.
Yeah.
Should we let it loose?
Let's just tell them who's going to be on the show because it's really exciting. We have our good friend Raul Midon, who's going to be joining us, and as well, Tris Curlis is going to be on a collaboration that we're all doing of one of his originals, as well as Raul's doing a second solo piece on his own. There's Tris, so adorable, and Raul. And then we have the divine Betty Buckley. And hello. Look at all those flowers behind her. Wow.
It's a great picture. I love her hair.
Yeah, you guys are rocking the silver. And we're doing a collaboration with her and very, very excited about the piece. It's happening. It's as we speak. Camila Meza, who Janice and I have featured in our vocal. Oh, look at her. Gee whizzikins.
Oh, my God.
Hello. Again, just a stunning artist. She's been on our Vocal Mania before, our Landlubber show. And so we're very excited about having her join us on the show. And Janice, why don't you run off a few of these other other artists?
We have our very, very good friends, vocal harmony nerds, the trio Duchess, which is Hillary Gardner, Amy Cervini, and Melissa Stiliano.
Yeah,
and they're premiering a piece. They're doing a new piece on our show, which is great.
Fabulous.
Yeah, and then my dear friend that I met singing with Bobby McFerrin in Voicestra, Rhiannon. Who is going to be doing her vocals from her farm in Hawaii on the Big Island. Yeah. She's freaking awesome.
She is so beautiful.
And we're going to be joined on this collaboration with another amazing singer named Pura Fay. We're going to keep you posted about that. Also,
yes.
I'm doing a collaboration with Steve Tyrell. And we got our tuxedos on and we went to town. So I can't wait for you to hear that. And then there's two more things, Lauren. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we have our young artist is a group directed by the wonderful Reggie Bowens, and this is the a cappella camp that he does every summer. And I think this is actually a combination of alumni and students and teachers, and they're going to do a beautiful piece that we are so excited to share with you. Look at those gorgeous faces, and then I'm doing. I've also written an original piece expressly for the show as well, and collaborating with my friend Tim Lefebvre, who most recently did the David Bowie record, the last record of David Bowie's, and he's often on the road with Tedeschi and Trucks. So he's a groove monster, and yeah. So I just I'm really excited about that
original piece.
It's an original. I can't help it.
You just can't help writing those words and notes.
I can't help it. Well, inspiration and also the world either inspires me or maddens me, and so it's a good place to put. It's a good place to put it.
Put your energy there, yeah. So if you would like to join us for this incredible musical episode, we are selling tickets at momenthouse.com/vocalgumbo, and you can buy your tickets there. Also, very exciting, we are going to be joining the Patreon experience.
Yep.
And you can we have all kinds of perks and special gifts for people that join at different levels, from $5 to $100. Patreon.com/vocalgumbo. And the first 10 people that join us on Patreon get a Vocal Gumbo flask. You can put your cyanide in there, or /vodka, or fizzy water, whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever you need to keep in your back pocket. We believe in being resourceful and a little bit secretive. It's always good to have a secret, and so we're happy to offer that up. And so the Patreon page has gone live, and so you can be the first one to jump on there and join the village. We're trying to again continue to take this platform and this show to new places and new heights, and having your subscription or your patronage is gonna help us know what we're working with and continue to grow. So join us. There's going to be a lot of really cool things that you're going to be able to participate behind the scenes, Q&As.
Coffee clatches with us.
Yeah, I mean,
kitchens. Let's bring back the Renaissance when there were patrons for the arts.
Yes, absolutely. So
we're going to need a Renaissance after this election. I'll tell you. We are.
So in light of that, we we also want to say thank you to our friend Tag Your It, who is actually donating these flasks. And look at that. It's like paint splattered on the screen. I love that. So they have been helping us with our marketing and our merch. And folks, you know what we're doing. We're just learning as we go. The pandemic hit, and suddenly we're just creating art and creating all kinds of things for ourselves to do to stay busy.
And getting into good trouble.
Into some really good trouble.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to our friends at Audio Technica. Yes, that we're very happy. We've got our in-ear headphones. Hello. And as well as our beautiful Audio Technica 4047 mics that we're recording on now. So we're very grateful that they're part of our little humble family, and we're loving them. We're loving the headphones. The headphones. I'm hearing things I never heard before.
I know. I'm singing more in tune. I can't believe it.
I'm hearing voices.
So much to be grateful for, and much to be grateful for. So yes, cheers to all of you. And this is I'm gonna take a sip.
Whoa. Oh, once you go Tomcat, you'll never go back.
Yeah, but that glass is quite sassy.
I can't freaking believe it. I have to do some detective work.
You have an admirer.
Or, I don't know, what? Is it a bribe? Maybe? I don't know. Well, I just love them, whoever sent these. So I'll find out.
So great. Well, you know, it was interesting because as we've done this show, all of you know, we've got our musical segment. And then shortly after that, we decided to add these happy hours because there is so much news and so much trauma, drama, and things to process that it felt sort of strange to be only doing music, even though it certainly is a service and we love it. But the platform of talking about life and things has been really something that we've really loved. And so I think it was in the last cycle of Vocal Gumbo when we learned the ruling for Breonna Taylor that there weren't going to be any charges and that and all the people sort of hit the street and I called up my friend Lenora Helm the next morning and I just was like, hi, how are you? And I was so devastated and we were getting ready to do our show and we were thinking, well, let's get Lenora on and let's quick do a talk show and talk about this. And then we thought, no, we've got to do this right. And we want to have a chance to actually set it up and be thoughtful about it. The Say Her Name episode that we're going to present now, we've invited 3 amazing women to talk about the subject, talk about their experiences and their lives. And so shall we just get right to it?
I would like to introduce them properly.
Yes, please.
Again, I just want to say that these happy hours were added because it's therapeutic for certainly for Lauren and I, and hopefully, I mean, for you all out there. You have to talk about this crazy stuff that's going on, I think, to process it, or you'll go insane. So hopefully we're contributing to a little less insanity in the world. We're also going to talk about Black women in music and women in music in general and issues surrounding that. So without further ado, we have the 2018 NEA Jazz Master, 5-time Grammy Award winner, vocalist, educator, the Amaze Balls, Diane Reeves.
She is here.
Hi, you guys.
The queen.
The queen and another queen. We have drummer, composer, vocalist, educator, producer, Terry Lynn Carrington. Yeah.
Terry.
Hi. How you doing?
Welcome.
And we have Lauren's dear friend, educator, and vocalist, Lenora Helm.
Hi, Lenora.
Hey, Lenora.
Yes, but yes, meet Lenora, meet Terry and Diane, and
Wait.
and
Lenora
cheers.
and I went to school together. We went to Berkeley together. So
You're muted.
oh,
Lenora is.
oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay.
Hey.
Terry, yeah, we went to school together.
We're old
like,
friends.
yeah, we kind of grew up in this business together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Terry and Diane, of course, know
Since I
each
was
other.
10. That's
That's an age-old story.
a 45-year-old friendship.
Now, when did you met each other with Clark Terry, or?
Yeah.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
don't know what the hell is going on.
Oh,
it was with Clark Terry at the Wichita, Kansas Jazz Festival in 1975.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a long
75.
friendship.
76.
Yeah. And Diane and I are on the Juilliard Vocal Jazz Advisory Board together.
Yeah. I have lost you guys. I can't even see you guys. Can you see me?
Yes.
We can see you and we
For some
can
reason,
hear
I
you.
didn't. Yeah. My phone. This
Well,
is crazy.
You want to get off and come on again?
why don't you?
No. Let me see. I don't know what just happened here.
Because we want to make sure that you're here. So if you want to maybe exit and come back on, maybe Lori can find you.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Again, we can hear you perfectly and see you perfectly.
You can see me. Let me just keep messing with it because it's got to be somewhere. I mean, this is just so weird. It just went off the screen. Oh, it must be on. There you are.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay. Whew. Well, I'm proud that I figured that out.
I think we're all kind of adapting to, this life home. We're all pretty much on the road or home, off from the road and adjusting to all of that. And I know Lenora also from Berkeley. Terry, I think all three of us were at Berkeley around about the same time.
That's right.
And then I've known Lenora for many, many, many years. I treasure.
We won't say how long, right? Tell our age.
It's good though. It's good, and
I'm
and-
down for telling age. I don't care. Tomorrow I will be 64.
yes.
Happy birthday, Diane.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I'm glad you reminded me.
It's my birthday eve.
Oh, that's nice.
Welcome to the mid-60s.
Yeah, it's all good.
It is all
Wow.
good. So first of all,
Teetering on the edge,
but Terry,
59 and holding.
Terry, I want to say first of all, congratulations. Yesterday it was announced that you're a jazz master for the National Endowment, and that's just so.
Thank you.
It's so well deserved.
That is badass, badass. Yes.
Why don't you give us a brief acceptance speech of like, or just tell us a little bit about how that feels, because it is such a, an incredible affirmation in a hall of extraordinary artists that live in that class, so to speak. So what's that feel like?
Yes, it feels like you said, like an affirmation that I think the things that I've been doing over the years, all are the right things, doing them for the right reasons. And I think people feel that, that sincereness from me about really being concerned about the music and the longevity and how the music progresses, and the young people, need to learn it, need mentors. The same thing, that happened to me. I had mentors. I had my father, who knew everybody in jazz, so he would be able to introduce me to these people like Clark Terry, which is how I met Diane. And then I realized, that situation doesn't happen for a lot of young people. So I really feel an obligation to pass that kind of mentorship down. And I feel more encouraged than ever to keep, doing the work, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is that there's only 12% women that have received the Jazz Masters Award, and even fewer instrumentalists, like 5%. So I'm coming up with that 5% number of various places, which really, is why I do the work that I do. I looked at all the downbeat covers for 12 for the last 10 years, and it was the same number, 5%. And then somebody sent me a statistic from England. It was like 5%. I was like, okay, this number keeps.
What is this 5%? Yeah.
So we have to change that. I'm talking about instrumentalists, women that play instruments.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And weren't you like the winner of like the first woman instrumentalist to win a Grammy in that category?
I was, yes.
And that was only what, 2013 or 14?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's crazy town, right? That's like, really? I'm sorry. How could it be? How could that be true, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I was the first one to be nominated. That's what's even crazier.
What?
Are you kidding me?
No, because the only other two that were remotely kind of nominated, they were nominated, but in a group, was Esperanza was part of Joe Lovano's group, Us Five, and the group got nominated, and Mary Lou Williams did a project, was in Dizzy Gillespie's group.
Mary Lou
Williams, yeah. And so they got nominated, as in a group, but as far as just solo artists, I was the first.
I think that's why Say Your Name is so essential, because it just, even though Kimberly Crenshaw sort of named this trend in 2014 by the African American Policy Forum and the Center for Intersectionality and Social Policy Studies. And, it is one of those things where we have to keep saying it out loud all the time, because it seems so weird that it could be true, that those things are true, that you're the first woman and in that particular arena, and that there's so few in this represented. And so I think we just have to keep saying it out loud as often as possible to make people aware.
And also, I think we have to make sure that we have these conversations with our male colleagues, because I think that they have to really mentor and apprentice young musicians because that's really the only way, as we see with the racial justice movement happening right now in the United States, it's the only way that these issues move forward is when everyone commits.
Does it?
You know,
Participates, yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think some male musicians are uncomfortable with women band leaders or women in their band?
Ooh.
Culture. I'll let somebody else answer that.
Well, one of the things that I experienced with putting this big band together to do my last record, where I would call cats and say, hey, you know, I need another tenor player, or I need a trombone player. And they'll run off their list of male cats that they know. And I'll say, well, do you know a woman on that instrument? And it would be like silence for a second. Oh yeah, I didn't think of that, you know.
That's
And
right.
so yeah, sometimes they say they don't think of it, but you have to make them think of it, you know, and you have to insist on or assert that, well, if we don't have women in the band, we don't have the whole conversation. We don't really have that perspective, that energy. You know, it's important. And I was talking and listening to this musicologist the other day give a presentation on her paper on Betty Carter. And she was talking about now in musicologists, ethnomusicologists are in something called recovery scholarship, where they're trying to recover the fact that there's an absence or 5% of women counted in anything. It's crazy. It's really, you know, something that we have to focus on changing and focus on making sure that the women who are coming up now, that they are thinking about this, and the men, you know, so that they don't presume you're incompetent. We don't want to be ghettoized. We want to be included, and we want to be chosen because we can play, or we're the right person for the gig.
Yeah, you can hang.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we also want to, I think, make sure we're listening for another aesthetic sometimes, because we've been trained to listen for such masculine aesthetics, as far as like, you know, he's killing, or she plays, you know, she's strong, or she plays hard, or she plays fast. It's like hard, fast, loud, you know, these things that, you know, conquering warrior, you know, type, you know, energies. Not that men can't have the opposite happening as well, but I just feel like we have to really listen differently, because we've all been compared to only men. So we don't really know what the other sounds is like. And, you know, I just also want to say that, you know, the conversation for me is that, you know, justice is not just good for women, it's good for men and women.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know,
I was intrigued by your title at Berkeley, actually, Institute of Jazz and Gender Justice.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about that.
Yeah, like that was 3 years ago when I started that. And I must say, you know, I've learned a lot. I have so much more to learn, but I've learned a lot in those 3 years. Because back then I was thinking, well, you know, gender equity, and, you know, what should we call this? And my good friend, Dr. Angela Davis, said, no, you can't say gender equity, because you can have equality and equity without changing the conditions that created the inequality and inequity in the first place. So you must use the word justice.
Yeah. That's intense.
Yeah, because justice implies transformation. And I think that's really at the bottom line of what we're trying to do. We're trying to transform the culture.
Absolutely. Now, Diane.
The culture, the mindset, everything. And, you know, through advocacy, you know, because I think with both Terry and I, that was the thing that happened with Clark. He saw something, and he just looked at it as, you have potential. I don't care what kind of skin. I don't care anything about that, but I want to nurture that, you know, that thing that I see in you. And so, you know, that was like my first mentor and advocate in this music. And then I realized that the other side of it is, even, you know, as we go along, is we have to also be allies. We have to also push each other through. That's extremely important. If we're not in places of power, we are in places where we're together, and we can still push these ideas through.
Yes, exactly.
Now, Diane, you've been in the industry a long time as a significant, you know, artist and leader and pioneer, and sort of what do you think's changed as you've come along from, like, obviously, you know, being discovered by Clark Terry, right, to like taking ownership of like your vision and your ownership of like your business and running a band and being the president of your and CEO of your own company. So like what has that journey been like, and how do you see it sort of evolving today?
It was interesting. Like all last week, I was with a lot of Terry Lynn students and Danilo students for the Global Institute. And, you know, we were talking about these things, and it was funny because, you know, I grew up in this situation where, you know, all of these kind of challenges existed. And so I was taught how there are many possibilities and how you can get around and what you have to do. So my journey was always very strategic, you know, to get from one point to the next, you know, knowing that these things were in the way, not really trying to pull them down, but just knowing that they existed and stood in front of me to keep me from doing things. So, you know, my journey was like more strategic. And what I'm seeing now in, you know, in this road and being able to talk about it and all the people that have, you know, just cleared the way, I see a lot more of this thing of owning your voice, authenticity, because of, you know, at that time it was being written about, it was being talked about, it was, you know, everybody was trying to make a way to that place. And I see a lot of that becoming more the norm, you know, that and especially now that the record industry has totally eaten itself, you know, you have to, you know, and you have to make a way. And and what I'm finding is, especially with a lot of young women, is like, it's like I'm watching them on, I don't even know what I would do at this time, because I don't have those social media skills and those ways of, you know, busting through and creating brands and, you know, all of these things that a lot of these young people are doing. And they're, you know, they're owning themselves from the very, very beginning. Absolutely. And they're setting, you know, a precedent and saying, this is, you know, how I do it, how I see it, and, you know, moving forward in that.
Well, the artists have to be entrepreneurs now.
Yeah.
And I think they're learning that. And I also think that this pandemic has forced us, or given us a chance maybe, to become more authentic.
Yeah.
Because everything's stripped away. It's like a level playing field now. Nobody's working.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody, I mean, for me, it's been a thing of like, wow, you know, while I've been out there, you know, pumping and pushing and moving and grooving and all of that kind of stuff, I realized that, you know, I was out of balance, especially from this, you know. And so now, you know, it's not that you live in a duality, but there are also other things that you need to feed that voice, you know, so that you can get out there and do the things that you need to do. And so once I surrendered to the fact that this is what we're going to have to deal with right now, I started to see other things, other ways, feeling a lot of different things, and having the opportunity to, you know, to really smell the roses, if you will, because, you know, I started thinking about things that I would think about and put on the back burner. And now all those things have come forward, and I'm going, wow, you know, I'm in the next chapter of my life. How am I going to define, you know, this next season or chapter moving forward? And I have a lot to think about, and I'm enjoying it because I haven't been in this place like this for this long.
I think that's a product of like the independent musician that we've all sort of been all these years, that like you're constantly thinking, I can't rest because I got to think about the next gig, or I'm writing for the next show, or I've got to learn this, or I'm reaching out to that person. So your body never settles.
Right.
It gets quiet, and you can listen and actually hear things that you never heard before. And so I appreciate that. I feel the same way about it. I'm curious, Lenora, since, you know, Lenora is just shy of getting her doctorate. She's been on a journey, and I'm very, you know, very proud of you. How you're pretty close. But the thing that you're actually touching on, Diane, is that, you know, you're kind of interested in the intersection of music and and the pedagogy, but also, you know, interaction and you know, I guess through the threads of like even online, like you're sort of figuring out ways to sort of make all of this work even now. Maybe you want to speak a little bit.
And politically, what is going to be the tone of this country? You know, how are we going to have to move in this next space? You know, I mean, I'm gonna keep on moving, that's for sure, but it's like I won't really know how to move until, you know, after this election. I don't know what it's going to be.
And even after the election, if things go well, there's still a problem.
There's a lot of work to do.
There's still
a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that what you just said, Diane, because this quote from you said that I'll never forget it, right? About there's your voice and your instrument, and your voice is who you are, your values, what's integral to you, and how you feel, and what's important. And your instrument, you use your voice. Your instrument is a vehicle for your voice. And
absolutely,
yeah, we're looking at what's going to happen next, because we have a leader who says, no, we can't study. It's divisive to study intercultural competence or intercultural information, which is ridiculous. The arts and culture are at the very core, you know, of that. And as artists, we're agentic for that to happen. So, and we have a responsibility. Like I recently purchased the program that you have, Open Studio, Define Your Voice. And my students are in love with you. They are like, yeah, we're just like listening to all of your wisdom and the way that you move through the music, and the very organic and important way that you talk about process, you know, of listening and hearing and responding and being true and authentic in every single moment. And so that, you know, I hope that you continue to do more of that. And if anybody's listening who's an educator, go and get that program. It's like having Diane Reeves, right? You know, center and front in front of your students. And it's just fabulous. It's really fabulous. But we have to point folks in that direction of being entrepreneurial or die. We're not going to have the silver lining of the pandemic is that, yeah, you can think about all the tributaries of your work. Who am I in my work? And one of the ways I'm in my work is I'm on stage. Another way I'm in my work is that how can I be with people on stage? Because when I was in South Africa and different countries as a US Jazz Ambassador, I would hate leaving the students because they were like, well, I wish I could study with you. But now we see that we can go back, all those people that we've met on tour, and we can go and get them and make sure that they can have that experience. So it's that it levels the playing field. So it's not just about who can afford to go to college or who can have an opportunity to come to your concert. It just allows us to have the access and have a legacy, a different kind of responsibility to this music and to the people who want to learn it.
Yeah, accessibility. And that's what we have. Hopefully, if they don't try to turn that off, you know. But I love that exists. Absolutely.
So Lenora, how are you teaching? Remotely or
so
hybrid?
For my hybrid. For my university students, we're mostly remotely. We don't have permission, as you know, the aspirate, you know, if we're in a room with 10 singers or more, that's supposedly dangerous, and we're not going to sing into that little cup of a thing. Some people are doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm online with my students a couple of times a week on Zoom, and I'm teaching them in the vocal jazz ensemble that way, but I'm also teaching them on their one-on-one lessons in Zoom. And then some days we just hang on Zoom. Sometimes it's like, I look at their face, you know, it's really paying attention, and their energy is like this, and they're just not with it. So I can't talk to them about a melodic minor scale. I just have to say, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling? Like I had them over my house yesterday. I said, you know, why don't y'all come out? I have enough room. We could spread out and just get them some food and let them, you know, have some music. We all had our masks, but that did change their, you know, it changed them. This is not something that they have experience in. These young people, like, to be isolated and to be looking at a screen, you know, they're social kids. Like this is the generation of, they're always on social media. So for them now, they can't like reach out and touch each other. They're just like traumatizing, you know.
Yeah.
So just, I'm doing a hybrid, but mostly I just pay attention to, like, you know, how are you feeling? What do you need? We don't have to do our lesson today. We could do it tomorrow or another day. But the most important thing is your mental health. And then we could get to the music.
Yeah, I look at you and Terry and you know, just the experience of working with them, like, wow, that just takes improvisation to a whole nother level, because they have never been through it and neither of you.
Right.
But with your tools, wisdom, and knowledge, you have to improvise a space that allows for them to still be, you know, able to get it, you know. And these are powerful times. I think that when we look back at it, you know, at 2020 with 2020 vision, I think that when we look back at it, we're going to see some pretty amazing things that have happened in the process of trying to keep these things moving forward. And I commend you guys, because it's like you know, I'm all about touch and feel, and you know, and just dealing with the screen is something. And for you to, you know, like what you're saying, you look at them and you say, okay, this isn't the day. So now we're gonna feed your voice, you know, because in the end, that's the thing that's gonna, you know, feed the next thing that you do musically.
Yes.
You have to learn. You have to learn to read them through the screen.
Right. Like you read your audience. Like you can tell when your audience is tired. Like, okay, not this song.
Right.
Let's do this.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
all right. Get over it.
Right.
Also, I just want to say too that I feel like it makes you look at your value system, you know, your core values, and why you're doing this in the first place, and what brought you to this. Because, like, I talk to my students about, to me, you were creative before the pandemic. It brought you to, you know, playing or singing or whatever it is you're doing, writing, and you're going to be, you know, hopefully creative during the pandemic, because you're not going to really change who you are. Like, you have to really dig and figure out why you're doing this and what makes you thrive and what makes you feel like you're contributing to the world or creating value. And after this pandemic, there'll just be more to share and more.
There'll be more, right?
But you can't stop being creative. So just find different ways. You know, I mean, people are learning how to play not with each other, which I find really interesting. I mean, it's not the way we prefer to do it,
right?
But they've gotten so much better from April, you know, when this started, to now. The performances where they're sending files to each other, even in jazz, like swing or any style, you know, something that's more creative and not just, you know, groove. They're surprising me because they're listening differently. They're leaving space for each other. You know,
and anticipating. That just blew me away from the sessions that we did, because they're sending me tracks and I'm like, they have made space for me. They have made inspiration for me. They have, you know, like thought of what I might need to sing over the top of the track, you know, and those tracks were really wonderful.
What format did they use to send the tracks, Diane?
Well, what we did was I picked some songs with Diane. She was our guest last week, and picked some songs. And they prepared them. So they, you know, we would choose who's going to start. Maybe the piano starts this one. Maybe the drum starts this one. And they prepare it among themselves and send it to her. So it was anything from like a blues with one ensemble to some of Diane's more intricate arrangements. But the idea is they're forced to imagine what's going to be there. Because if you start playing on a song and you're just the drummer, you know, like, it's crazy, right? You add the bass, you know, the bass and the drums, they still have to imagine what the piano will be like, or, you know, they keep stacking like that. And in April, it was kind of weird, you know, but now it's actually, you see how they're evolving. And not that, you know, it proves to me, I mean, human beings, especially young people, can really evolve and take whatever challenges are thrown their way. And I think that young people are used to the screen more than we are, actually. You know, so many are. So it's a drag for them because they don't have the community. You know, they don't have the energy of each other, you know, which is a big part of why they go to college, you know.
That's right.
But as far as learning, I think it points to other things and they can learn differently, but I don't think it's necessarily, obviously, you're not going to get the same thing out of not being in a room together as doing these things separately like that. But we have the opportunity to meet with a lot of different people that we may not have, you know, without this situation of the pandemic. So now we have a lot of virtual guests, and also we get to study things differently. I can assign a reading. I can do, you know, I can just figure out make them create something by themselves. That's something nobody had done. I hadn't even done it. And then I got a call, you know, to do something like that. You're home, you play whatever you do, just create something and make a video. And so I had my students do that, and none of them had done anything like that. We got some interesting things.
I think trying to demystify the mysteries is part of being a good teacher, is trying to give them a platform, like even pivoting to this degree to say, you can do this, like try it this way, and realizing that the way in which we create there's so much potential in getting to a result. There's so many different roads and avenues, and taking away the feeling that like the end product feels like, well, that's so hard, that's insurmountable for me. But once they start to do the inner workings, that Janice and I have been finding that with our NYU kids, that students, that, you know, the individual ownership has been ramped up, which is a beautiful thing in a way that there's so much growth that comes from that when you stand on your own 2 feet, as opposed to still always being held. And you like to balance both, but it's been nice. And I see a lot of growth in different ways that we never would have seen. Never would have done it that way.
And also, since Lauren and I are both members of an ensemble, we appreciate the idea of being a strong individual in that ensemble, you know, and then being able to join in community too. But you have to be able to sing your part alone, I think, before you can join in harmony.
It's so funny because my students, I said, okay, we got them all, you all have Logic now. Okay, now you all have headphones. Now you all have the keyboard. And they were first like, what? Like, how do we do this? And so we stumbled and made like 4 bad videos of trying, like, okay, we'll send you the track and then you play. So then, okay, that has to be at 48 hertz. They were like, what? And so they're like learning all of these different techniques. And so, no, you can't just be a singer. You have to know, play your part, or sync it up, or sing with the metronome. And no, you can't like depend on the person sitting next to you.
That's right.
For the entrance of when to come in. Now you're home by yourself, you know, play that track, record your part. And they've really been growing, like Terry was saying, like all of you were just saying, that they're like, okay, this is what it is. All right, cool. We got it. We got you, Miss Hammonds.
Right.
I love it. I love their flexibility about it. You know, they're teaching me when I'm like, oh man, I gave them all that stuff. I better know how to do it too. I don't know how to do it. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Logic is no joke.
But it's useful in a lot of different ways to integrate with other things, and so
yes. Right.
But you're forced to actually do it. You know, like you're forced to, because like for my demos and various things, I became a real like garage band master in a sense. I mean, I made so many. But me too. And everybody had told me that you can do Logic. If you can do GarageBand, you can do Logic. It's really like a very simple progression.
Well, there's more bells and whistles with Logic. It's easier to mix, I think, with Logic as well. You have more options.
Yeah, but also it's like they say, what is it?
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Right. So that's what happened, right? Because we all had to. Diane, I know you went and got your situation, so you could sing at home. I had to go like some drum mics. I'm not used
Right.
to recording the drums, you know, and then I had to switch to Logic so I could crossfade and edit these things better and have, you know, as you said, more bells and whistles. So you have to do it. But I think that's what the human spirit does.
Yeah. And I've been telling my students too, like, pay attention to what it is you wish you had to be able to make the job you're trying to do easier, because that's your next entrepreneurial idea. That's
Right.
software. Because like, look how easily Zoom ramped up. And look how now you have people who like, they're like putting out this different kinds of software. That could be your invention, intellectual property. So whenever there's like change and trauma like this, someone's making money. Someone's creating those products that will take that next level. So be thinking about that too. And so not just, oh, this is like really inconvenient, I want to be with my friends, but put a different, you know, thinking cap on.
There's a mad race to come up with a way to play live. So whoever comes up with that is.
Well, there's something that's floating around called
I've heard. Yeah,
Soundtrap or
Soundjack.
Soundjack.
I think it has to do with also proximity. So you can, so if there's low latency, if you're kind of 500 miles away, but once you get further and further away, you know, it's that. Well, I wanted to ask, I wanted to pivot for a second, because one of the things a couple of years ago, I remember calling you Terry, because I was like, part of this gender justice that you do at Berklee, the thing that really like made me so happy that you were doing is you were collecting the library of women composers. Like, where is the library? Where is the voice of the woman in music? Because we know she's there. She's been either, you know, a man either has his name over the top of her composition, and or we just don't have that roadway and that pathway. But I mean, I've been a composer my whole life, so it's actually the thing that probably gets me out of bed first. Is like, whatever ideas in my head, I have to work it out. And so a couple of years ago, I loved that you were going to work on collecting, making sure that was documented, so that women can go to that museum and look at it like we and visit it and know that it exists, and get busy with raising ourselves up again to continue to be contributors and have it not be some unseen thing. So again, it's like, it's sort of trying to be seen. And so thank you for doing that and raising us all up in that way.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'd love to ask each of you, what do you think jazz would be like? What would jazz culture be like without patriarchy?
That's what the goal is, right? I mean, that's what we're all trying to do, dismantle patriarchy. And we're looking at patriarchy through the lens of jazz. But I mean, patriarchy is the problem when we look at kind of all of these issues. It's the problem, you know, I mean, patriarchy, misogyny, white supremacy, these things, you know, kind of come from the same source, the same root. And it's the problem with gender justice and racial justice and environmental justice.
What's the root?
Oh, patriarchy.
Okay, but is the root fear, or is it hatred? Control. Or
control.
Power.
Control. Dominance. You know.
Yeah. It's really deep. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, the root.
And survival.
Colonizing. I mean, even colonizing. We always talk about, you know, what we want to decolonize at this point. Because that was a big, you know, I mean, there were basically, you know, there were a lot of men that got together and thought at some point, let's go, you know, this country and take over. And that mindset, to me, is what has permeated this whole thing. You know?
I agree. And none of that writing had anything to do with thinking about women or people of color or anything. So that whole script that was etched in stone is really just one point of view, leveraging their point, what they would like to see happen, and doesn't have any thought for including the other voices. And so why we're in this tricky time now is we want to hold fast to those ideas, because aren't they the good ones? And isn't that the right thing? And it's really just, it's not. And we need to move past it and evolve. And So
I mean, it's been around for so long, you know what I mean? Like, even if you look at the Bible, I don't know of any women that were writing, you know, that stuff. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just,
I agree.
no, I just mean, like, it's been since the beginning of time. So that's why I keep going back to patriarchy. I mean, I've heard of ancient days and certain civilizations where women ruled, you know, but
not for long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but not for long. And it's so pernicious because you mentioned Kimberly Crenshaw and the like she's considered like the leading voice about critical race theory. And it's right at the core of that about patriarchy. And so if we don't stop it, we teach, like we educate in many different ways. So if we don't say something and do something, we're teaching the women who are coming behind us that it's okay that if you try to speak up in the ensemble or on the stage or at the gig and someone overtalks you, just sometimes it's just overtalking you, or you come up with an idea, and they say, oh, that's a dumb idea. No, this is what we should do. And sometimes I've had to say, no, we're not doing what you said. We're going to do what she said. It's so important.
That will happen in the
classroom.
That's the ally.
I
mean, that will happen to the teacher in the classroom. I remember Linda Mahon was a guest, and immediately there was a guy say, "Oh yeah, well this is so and so," and he started telling her about her piece.
No kidding. Oh,
I'm just saying, he didn't think about. He didn't even mean any harm.
Yeah,
it's just not. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lot to try to unpack, but I'm just always really hopeful because I see it happening. I see the change happening, and it's really exciting. Actually,
it is,
because we have a lot of young men that come to study with us, and what's interesting about that is they don't want to have to perform masculinity, or as Nicole Rustin says, jazz masculinity. They don't want to have to perform it. You know what I mean? And then there the women that have had to perform it. And that's not fair to either party. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
That's why when we started this trio with Esperanza and Jerry Allen, they pointed out, I didn't think about it, but they pointed out to me, they both felt like, oh, I don't have my guard up.
Wow.
Wow.
And I was kind of always a certain type of personality. So I realized, you shouldn't have to be that personality that fits in and kind of just right with all of these dudes. I mean, for me, it was kind of natural, but I feel like, there's so many women that are shifting who they are to fit into this scene because of their love for the music. And that's terribly unfair. And a lot of people quit because it's not fun.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad about other organizations like WIJO. Women in Jazz organization. That's great.
Yeah, because it's a movement and everybody has to contribute. There's not any movement. It takes a whole lot of people, to make a movement.
The first time I played with an all-woman band was only like 3 years ago with Leah Delaria, and she had a killing band of Helen Sung and some amazing people. Sylvia Cuenca, I think.
Yes, that's great.
And Cheryl Bailey.
Right. So, but that would be nice that isn't an anomaly. Like, it's such a boring idea that we sit here and go, well, but it was an all-woman band. And you're like, boring. I'm so tired of that. It's like, come on. It's not a shocking concept that there would be all women up on the bandstand.
Yeah, but it kind of was a shocking concept.
But it should be a choice. It should be a choice. And the problem is a lot of women play together because that's what they've had to do. Right. Because they haven't had the experience. And a lot of women were forced to be leaders before they were ready because they didn't have mentorship. They didn't have people to bring them along. So in order to play, they had to create their own situations. And the easiest way to do that was to call other women. So I reject that too, only because I think the reason why a lot of that came about was still based on the same problem of sexism and misogyny.
Right. So how we hold them up then is through everything that you're doing and everything that you're modeling. Right. Everything that you model tells the story about how it can be done, so that our young women, in particular our young Black women, they see they see where they need to go, where they can go. I love every one of your students, Lenora. When I met them at Gen, they are the most lovely and musical and composed and professional and respectful. I mean, they were like, I couldn't even, if I could embrace all of them, it was just what you create there is so tangible in such a profound way. It goes beyond teaching and all that stuff. It goes beyond, you create a beautiful space. But I guess I just feel like, you know, you guys are the inspiration, and how do we continue to raise everybody up is do kind of what you guys are doing. But
and what we all have to continue to do in our way, you know, to keep pushing this consciousness forward. We have to call it out.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we have to give opportunities to young women, and we see that jazz education has been very difficult for young women of color, especially. It's terribly expensive, and it's on this merit system, and sometimes potential is overlooked, and sometimes the important things that make jazz is overlooked.
Overlooked, yeah.
You know, like the blues, or a feel, or you know,
right.
Or their families don't think it's a good idea. Like, you know, if the litmus test is, you know, ask a man, you know, your daughter, she comes to you and she says she wants to play trombone and she wants to, you know, she wants to be a musician. What do you say? And he's like, oh yeah, I encourage her. Like, but most of them won't say that. They won't say, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And so, like Terry, I when you came out with your foundation, the name of your
institute.
I'm sorry, my voice is cracking. I was like, oh man, that's so great. And so I remember talking about that on Reddit, you know, when I was doing the crowdfunding for the record for the Love of Big Band. And those folks on Reddit, they went crazy. They were like, why do you have to bring jazz gender justice in it? What is jazz gender justice anyway? And so many people were like, yeah, exactly. That's
the point.
Because you're upset by it. Why are you upset by it? You know,
right.
It would be like a vehement response to, why do we have to put gender in it? And we did a study in our state, right? Some other professors and I, who are Natalie Boyink, bassist.
Oh yes, yeah, I know Natalie. Yes,
right. And so we did a study in our state in North Carolina of middle school and high school band leaders, asking them about gender and their students. And we got like response. Some people are like, yeah, this is an issue and we need to deal with it. And some people are like, why are you creating problems? You know, I feel like, you know, the same kinds of rhetoric you get when people are talking about race.
Right. Well, that's what I was just about to say. You can't have the race conversation. So any man, especially a Black person, that says that to me, my first question is, well, let's change the words. Like, why should Black people have equal rights? Why should you have a job? Why should you get paid the same? You know, if we flip the script, it's the same issue, and people do not understand these intersections. You know, but Black women do, because we have to deal with both. you know, but those kinds of guys that are holding on so tightly to something, they're generally either people that either they don't play well, or, you know, they're holding on to something because they don't want to get run off the stage. You know what I mean? They're insecure. Something is going on with them, because there's no way that you could want justice in one area and not in another area.
Right.
It's just insane. So women that fight for, I mean, that's historically what happened, though, right? When we look at the suffrage movement, you know, there were a lot of Black women that fought for suffrage and didn't get the chance to vote.
That's right.
The thing that's beautiful about that is they were smart enough to know that no one's free until we're all free. So they didn't mind doing the work, even though they knew they would not benefit, because they knew that this had to happen. White women had to get this vote in order for them to get it later. Right. You see what I'm saying? It's like that you have to have that understanding of the intersections.
Having strategic moves, trying to figure this out like a chess game. And that's, you know, that's what I learned. That's what all of us learned, to try to figure out how to maneuver all of this. But now we're talking about tearing it down. And that's something that's totally different. Right. And that's a good thing, because you can't continue to survive in a place that is constructed in a way that maybe sometimes you can, cause a ripple, but because this thing is constructed in this way, the only way to change it is to tear it down.
Yeah.
And start again. And there, and to re-envision something else, because this isn't working.
Yeah. Who should be at that table? Let's talk about who should be at that visionary table that's saying, okay, let's start over. What does, a system that works for all, a beautiful place where, everybody has the possibility to be educated and have health insurance. And why does socialism have to be a dirty word in all of this, whereas as opposed to it just being, we should all have a graceful place to grow and have opportunities. So who's at that table?
Well, these three women are at that table. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The people at all strata, the people at the bottom, the quote unquote bottom, the people who are the mules, who's like doing the work,
who's affected by it.
Who's affected by it? Yeah, like if the top, ranks are the only ones at the table, we're not going to get any change. People are going to be looking out for their own agenda. And
but we're working on getting all those people off the voter rolls. They're every day. The Supreme Court is like, no drive-by, no drive-up voting, and no, you can't mail in, you can't do this. It's like the craziest thing you see in front of your eyes. That like the very people that you're saying should be having their voice, they're doing their darndest to make sure they don't get to have their voice. So that's the most outrageous thing I feel like I see every day, is like, it makes me stop breathing, thinking how awful we are.
But what's crazy,
and the other thing is go ahead.
I was just going to say, but that's what we've been dealing with for all of these years, for hundreds of years. And it's so amazing that now it's so in front of our face that everybody with half, a brain can see it. You know what I mean? But this has been going on.
Right.
So as outraged as everybody was looking at George Floyd and what happened with Breonna Taylor, I think many people have said, well, we've just been dealing with this. This is what we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we have to start wrapping this up, unfortunately. I think Terry Lynn has to get going, I believe.
Oh, actually, I'm okay now. I forgot to email.
Okay.
All right.
The thing that I had disappeared.
Okay.
Well, we love this conversation, and frankly, I'm happy to let it roll a little bit longer too, because it leads me to that feeling of like that exact thing. Like when I talk to a lot of my sisters about, checking in, and the first response is always like, I'm just so tired of this. I mean, this is so old news for us. So, but I guess the silver lining in a way, because of the pandemic and because we're all quiet and all the, the wool is getting pulled off of, all the secrets are coming out. Everybody's telling, it's all coming out. So there is, I guess, some opportunity to really deal with this what I think will be a reckoning, a reckoning of great. Yeah.
We're in transition. The world is in transition because we are in the age of information. And that's why I think that, the closer that we get to being able to see things, because when you, like, Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And that's why all of this chaos and craziness and fakeness is coming up to keep you off your game, because now you have access to information. And now, there are those who can critically think their way through, like, this isn't cool, I won't listen to this. And there are others that aren't,
That's
and
because they don't know how to think critically.
Or because they're surviving, they're working, they're surviving, and they don't have time to see the picture, and that's where everybody, this, in answer to your question and what Lenora was saying, it's like everybody has to be at the table, because you got to, you have to help people rise and help people see and help people know that they matter, and that, that we are all human beings first, beyond all of this, craziness and what religion and what party you belong to and all of this, but they have to be able to see themselves with dignity and light and that they matter.
Right.
You know, everybody wants to matter. And so in answer to your question earlier, everybody needs to be at this table, and we need to be there for each other because we're close. I really, really feel that we're close. I think that's why it's so crazy right now. You know, I'm looking at television and, you know, I'm looking at commercials, and the commercials represent America. I mean, I'm listening to artists continuing their voices and creating things. Everything that I see that they're like pushing it through. I mean, the Pope this morning, even though he didn't say everything that needed to be said, but it's like the narrative is we're being pushed forward. So all of this other stuff that's going on, I'm like going, you know what? I like this flow down here better. I'm going to pay attention to this because I feel like this is moving forward, and you can see it everywhere, you know.
I think that's so profound. I think you're right on point with that. Because when I heard that thing of what the Pope said, I was like, what? You know, is he ill? Is something happening?
And
he'll leave without the saying.
You know, felt that way. So that means there were other people that made sure that he got in the position of power too, because he felt like that in Argentina. He said he felt this way. So he's very progressive. And so somewhere there's other people that feel like we need this progressive voice that allowed him to even be Pope. You know, so there's advocacy and allies and stuff all in there. And we have to see ourselves as that as well, because we have to keep pushing this forward.
Yeah. I teach my students meditation because I think what's important right now also is for us to have a measure of awareness, you know, not just the responding to and reacting to what's happening, but in order for us to like key into the changes that are happening. I think you're so on point with what you're saying, Diane, is that who are you going to be in it, so that, you know, okay, let me just pay attention to how I feel and why I feel that, or how is this impacting me? And so that stillness, so that you can hear the information, is really key.
Well, the stillness is so you can hear your own voice.
Right. And beware of the things that you entertain, because you can't always tell people you can't let this stuff make you break up with yourself. Because then after that,
who are you going to be with? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, you know what it looks like.
But that's also why, I mean, the pandemic has helped people, you know, have their, the old folks would say, you know, like a come to Jesus moment. But, you know, the pandemic has helped everybody center in that way, because you have to really, I think, decide where you stand on things. You know? And I don't know, I'm one of those people that believes in the good of people, and I believe in humanity. So that's why I'm so hopeful right now, because I think the pandemic slowed us all down to make some, you know, interesting choices and thoughts. And the people that don't, I see them as being scared. And you can't really operate in fear. So then what can we do? Like recently I was just, it's kind of a continual thing throughout the year, but involved with a distributed symposium that UC Santa Cruz is doing called Visualizing Abolition. And it was really interesting to start thinking differently about these things and what, you know, abolition means. And it's kind of like the third wave of abolition. And I think we have to start thinking differently about society and how we care for each other. So the idea with abolition, you know, is if we were to care for each other in a certain way and everybody had their needs met, then there would be no need for crime, you know, if there wasn't poverty, you know. I mean, so it's just kind of like an interesting way to really, how do we think differently about our future, and how do we imagine it? And as artists, how do we paint these pictures, you know, and help push and move and nudge people to be more progressive in their thinking and not hold on to something out of fear.
Well, they have to be able to eat, and they have to have a job, and they have to feel safe. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody deserves that, really.
Everyone deserves that. Yeah.
So
but the minute you say that, everybody starts calling it, this far-flung liberal. Yeah, and it's really just living with dignity and holding all of ourselves up to a certain level, so that then you can really thrive. And I don't know. I think, again, it's that patriarchal idea and notion that's just having a hard time dying, but it is sort of, I feel like it's the last gasp. You see it sort of, it's kind of doing this. And I
filling the drain.
It's just like, we're going to do one more thing. And the only thing that I'm sad about, in a way, the Supreme Court nomination feels like a really cruel, for me, it feels sad, because I feel that a woman, I think, is being used in a way that
used absolutely
to hold an old ideal, and that makes me sad, because I'm sad because she doesn't have a bigger vision, and I'm also sad that she's going to be there for a long time. And
she doesn't know that progressive voices got her there.
And she doesn't appreciate one ounce of what absolutely opened all her doors. And so that is, like, I think also like those icons of the last gasp, it's just the last slap in the face. But I feel like, again, we are going to make these changes, and we're hoping the vote will show us some new light. There's a couple of, Kate McGarry just chimed in and also was just saying how much she appreciates the conversation, and that women in all forms of office and power, and the Senate and CEOs and in music and such, if we see more women in balance of power and in all ways, I think the world will heal. And I think Elizabeth Tumballiam said something that I didn't see now, that popped up and went away. But
she's basically saying that, yes.
Yeah.
Respect and love for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I think we're,
no,
sorry.
Go ahead, Lenora.
No, I think we're coming up on that time when, just like in the civil rights movement or in Woodstock, where the artist and the content of what they were talking about in their songs was about this transition, a transition and a movement. And we're coming to a time when, we're not going to just talk about some of the usual things about love and, oh, baby, but,
thank God.
Respect me.
But a greater love.
A greater love. Like, who am I? And no, I'm not your work wife.
Right.
No, I'm not.
I'm not standing behind you to make you a great man. I'm standing with you, maybe sometimes ahead of you, but we are the balance.
I like
yes,
that.
Get out of the way.
A quote of Angela Davis's that was inspiring to me is, music is a main way of transmitting the desire to resist. And she also says, and because she always talks about music and how important it is to movements. And sometimes as artists, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes as artists, we feel like, are we doing enough? Like, does this really, I'm sure it's important to like make people feel good and entertain, but really, how are we carrying through this mission of what we believe? And like Danilo Perez, he always, we talk about when we ask our students, why do you do this? And so often some people say, because it's fun, because I enjoy it, because it's always kind of based on how it makes them feel. And we talk about like how, if you're a doctor and somebody asks you why you do it, it's to save lives. And so it's like about this mission of why we do it. And Angela also says that something to the effect of music allows you to feel that which you cannot speak yet, that which you can't put into the vernacular. And so I think there's a power there that, we have to really take seriously, especially when it comes to, this critical moment that we're in right now of these movements coming together. Yes. Because we have to all acknowledge economic justice. I mean, even environmental justice. So just because you guys invited us to have a drink So the words start to come out funny.
Listen,
I wish y'all could see the words on my glass. Can you see that?
Let that shit
go.
All
Listen,
right.
well,
I can't have too much.
Well, we want to thank you guys for being here, and we wanted to let you know that actually we're going to, what often happens with any of the monies that we raise from the show, besides trying to pay out small honorariums to the artists that participate and the musicians that contribute, we always donate 10% to a charity or a cause, and we are going to actually make our donation for this whole series to the AAP F Forum. So we're going to say her name, and we're going to donate any monies that 10% of the monies that we receive. So that always feels like a little something that we can be doing as a community, and putting our collective energies together. So we're excited about that. And we're really grateful for you guys coming and sharing your hearts and your wisdom with us. You are such extraordinary women, and Janice and I admire you so much. And so it was just an honor to get to just open up this talk moment with you. And so thank you for all of your thoughts and
thank you for having me.
We're grateful.
It's good to see you guys. I don't get to see Terry that often. We've been Zooming lately, but I'm giving all you guys a big hug around your neck.
Oh, it's great to connect with all of you, and thank you. And thank you to Lori Green, our producer, who helps us make this happen. Thank you,
yes.
Lori.
And for those of you that want to buy a ticket to the show, it's all streaming down below. It's coming up on October 30th and 31st. You'll see it going by Moment House, and you can join our Patreon page, which we're just starting. So who knows if that's going to work? We don't know. We're just making it up as we go.
Yeah, we are, and we want all three of you to come and sing on Local Gumbo.
Any old time we can get you guys.
Yay, Terry.
We would be yes. There you go. There you go.
Yes, Terry.
Yes.
When I heard Terry sing,
I'm a closet singer.
I was like, Terry singing. That's like, I've been really bad about just not picking up the phone and finding you to call you and say, yeah, girl. But
thank you.
Yeah, so just
thank
congratulations again on being the NEA Jazz Master, and happy birthday, Diane.
Happy birthday, Diane.
3 hours away.
Oh, by the way,
I'm making my own birthday cake too.
Yes, you did.
It's in the refrigerator now. I have to give it another drink of rum. Then I'm gonna do a salted caramel buttercream frosting.
Yum.
You're
expecting a puppy in the mail, I hear.
That's what I hear. I don't know quite what that is, but I'm interested.
Yeah, you should be. You should be.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds delicious. And also one last plug to just say that on the 28th we'll be meeting some of the artists from the show. So we're going to have Raul Midon and Steve Tyrell and Betty Buckley, and so we'll chat with them about the collaborations that we've been doing with them and whatever else comes up. Oh, what's so cool is Betty actually wrote a cease and desist letter to Trump. Because he's using her song.
He's using memory. He's using memory.
Wow.
So you guys have to go read it on her Facebook page, because it is hard. It's just like
the best.
It is so good.
Good for her.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
And
I
Patty
really
LaPone,
appreciate y'all.
Funny too.
Yes.
So
thank
great
you
to
guys.
meet you, Lenora.
And
thanks for
using your platform. Thanks for using a platform to talk about these things. That's really important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Love that
you
glass.
Are the best.
All right, you guys. Have a good one.
Yes, okay. Lenora, Terry, Diane, crazy for you. Keep doing your thing. Keep leading the way.
Love y'all.
All right, you guys.
Good night.
Well, good night.
Calling all around the world. Mumbo jumbo, stir up the gumbo. Calling all around the world. Get it. Start with a roux, that's me and you. Add the Holy Trinity. That's rhythm, chords, and melody. Come on now, add your spice. Just tell your story. Very nice. Falling all around the world. Stir that vocal gumbo now. Falling all. Stir it up, stir it up.